Hi, my name is Dr Emma Svanberg and I'm a clinical psychologist specialising in the perinatal period, so that is pregnancy, birth and the early years of parenting. Today I'm going to be talking to you about birth trauma, what it is, how do you know if you're experiencing it, and what you might want to do if you think you are. So when we talk about birth trauma, we might be talking about a number of different things. So we might be talking about having symptoms of traumatic stress after a difficult birth, or we might be talking about meeting the diagnostic criteria for post-traumatic stress disorder. So it all exists on a bit of a spectrum where we might have some symptoms and not others. When you have a particular range of symptoms, that's what we might look for as a psychologist to diagnose PTSD. We might also be talking not just about the birth itself, but about the perinatal experience. Some people have a traumatic birth experience, others might experience post-traumatic stress due to things that happened in their pregnancy or in their postnatal period. When we're talking about post-traumatic stress, we're talking about a few different elements that we might expect to see. So first of all, we'd expect that somebody might have experienced an event that left them feeling profoundly unsafe. So that might not happen just to the person giving birth, it might also occur vicariously. So it might also be that we had an experience of a loved one, that might be our baby or our partner, having been unsafe. It's important to remember that perinatal trauma doesn't just happen to a person who's giving birth. It can also affect our family, our friends, and other people in our close community. Secondly, we would expect to see symptoms across 4 different domains. So first of all, we'd see re-experiencing symptoms. These might be experienced as flashbacks. These don't need to be sort of visual memory flashbacks. They might also be emotional flashbacks. Or we might expect people to have nightmares or dreams about their experience. Anything that makes you feel as if you're experiencing being in that moment where you were traumatised again. People also tend to avoid thinking about or experiencing reminders of that traumatic event. So that might be avoiding talking about it, it might be avoiding going past the place in which they experienced that traumatic event, it might even be avoiding anything to do with that trauma. This can be really difficult in the perinatal phase because sometimes our reminder of that traumatic event is our baby themselves. Thirdly, we'd expect to see that people would have some differences in their mood, so particularly feeling a more negative mood. This might be feeling self-critical or blaming of ourselves for having gone through that experience, asking questions like, what should I have done differently? Or we might also be very blaming or negative about other people who are involved in that event. Often we might expect to see that people would just generally be feeling a lot flatter than usual. Lastly, we also expect that people will feel really stressed in their bodies, so this can look like feeling startled easily, feeling jumpy, irritable, easily frustrated, essentially anything where you feel like you've got a kind of heightened sense of stress in your body. Many people do experience traumatic events, whether that's birth or otherwise, that they then can just resolve on their own over time. So we wouldn't expect to be looking for diagnosing post-traumatic stress disorder unless these symptoms have been going on for over a month. And these sort of symptoms can occur quite quickly after birth or in that postnatal period, or they might not arrive until many years later. What can be really difficult about experiencing traumatic symptoms in our postnatal period is that there's so much going on already. We're learning so many new things, we're feeling very different, so we don't always know what it is that's actually affecting us. Often it might be other people like your partner or friends or family who might express a bit of concern about you because they've noticed that something just feels a little bit different. For example, you're jumpier or more easily startled than usual, you're a lot more flat or negative about yourself, or perhaps you're talking a lot about your birth, that would be re-experiencing it, or you're avoiding talking about it at all. The good news is there are lots of very effective interventions if you've experienced post-traumatic stress or might be experiencing post-traumatic stress disorder. Lots of these are freely available on the NHS, so your first port of call if you're in the UK is your GP or speaking to your midwife or health visitor. Usually you might be offered a talking therapy like trauma-focused cognitive behavioural therapy or EMDR, eye movement, desensitisation, reprogramming therapy, which can really help you explore and then resolve these traumatic experiences and memories that you might be struggling with. There are also some brilliant organisations that you can go to get support and more information, such as Make Birth Better and the Birth Trauma Association. And if you'd like to see any more information about birth trauma, mental health, or anything else alongside your parenting journey, then please do look at my baby club for more information.